Well, welcome back to day 4 of the 5-day Biopharma Job Challenge. I'm so excited to have you guys back for another day. Today's a big day. We're talking about competing for these roles. We've taken quite a journey over the last few days. I hope that you're getting a lot of value out of it. I can't believe how many people have joined. We have 1,555 as of this morning. I couldn't believe it when the team told me about it. So excited. I'm glad there's a lot of interest here. And one of the questions that's come up is, where do we go from here? Is there going to be stuff after the 5-day challenge? There is. And we're going to talk about that before we wrap up today. But we have work to do. We sure do. So let's talk about what's happening in day 4 of the 5-day Biopharma Job Challenge. Let's start off by saying this. Let's just take a breath. Smile. You're doing great. You've showed up. It's unbelievable. You're committed. And that already puts you ahead of most job seekers. So this week, we've built a system. You got clear on what roles and companies matter. You set up tools to monitor the right opportunities. You implemented a simple tracking system to reduce stress and to bring structure to the process. But let's be honest, none of that matters if you can't win. Today is about competing, not applying, competing. Because the truth is, the best roles don't go to the person who applied first. They go to the person who showed up best. So today, I'm going to show you how to use Jobs AI to position yourself as the obvious hire. We're going to simulate interviews. We're going to predict what hiring managers care about. We're even going to profile your interviewers so you can show up already speaking their language. This is what elite candidates do. They don't leave it to chance. They prepare with precision and they compete like pros. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I want you to go to jobsai.medicinemarket.com. If you didn't receive your registration link, just send us a message. We'll make sure we get that taken care of. But as of all the people that are registered through day 3, everyone was sent that link. And according to our analytics, you're using up your credits and you're using the system, which is great. I love it. I want you to use this tool to help you be incredibly effective. In this particular competitive market, more than ever, the folks who are using everything that they can do to create an edge are the ones who are most likely positioned to win. As we talked about with this industry, this is high stakes. We've got such high demand for these roles. And that's just for the people who are in the industry currently. Think about all of the folks who want to get into biotech, pharma, life sciences, med device, med tech. It's extremely competitive. That's for sure. So the demand is high for 2 obvious reasons that are always in that demand cascade. These are high value positions. They pay well. They're important, high value, and they're scarce. There are far more candidates than there are positions that are out there. But you need to think about this in a appropriately selfish way. Remember, when you're going for these particular jobs, you're the one with the skill set. You're the one that's going to be in that role, delivering value, working the long hours, taking those messages in this 24/7 world that we live in today. Every role in these organizations produces more value than it costs the employer. That's just the sheer nature of business. So you are the prize. You are someone who's going to deliver so much. You've come so far. There's so much that you have to give. We want to compete effectively for these roles. And when we think about this, in this highly regulated and litigious world, there isn't one candidate for every single job. We look at many people for every particular position. So I want you to think about the situation that you're in when you're competing for these roles, knowing that there may be someone who comes in perhaps with some edge that your employer, your potential employer may be aware of that you need to overcome in some way, shape, or form. It could be that person was a warm referral. there was an introduction. They were a past worker. They went to the same university. They worked at the company in the past and they left in good standing. They want to come back. Who knows what it might be? But leaving it up to chance for you to be underprepared is not acceptable. That's why you're here. That's why we're doing this together. And we're going to use our tools and technology to help us make sure that we are fully prepared so we can communicate our value proposition effectively. No one likes to feel like they didn't get the job that they were overqualified for or perfectly qualified for, to be frank, because something wasn't communicated effectively. The interviewers didn't see what you have to bring forward. So we're going to use tools to help us get on the leading edge of that. Because if the other candidates we're competing against, to use the term edge, if they've got an edge on us with something that we do or do not know about, well, I can tell you, if that edge is they're using tools and technologies to help them better prepare and better compete, well, that's where you can level the playing field very quickly by using tools like this. So by now you've pulled up Jobs AI. I'm glad that you did that. As you take a look through all of the different tools that are inside there that are purpose-built for the search, as well as some bonus tools to be able to just generally use AI and become more comfortable with it and get a higher competency around that. I hope you've been playing with it quite a bit. Use up those credits. And if you want to continue to use the tool, we've got a special deal for folks that are a part of this cohort in the 5-day Biopharma Challenge. When we do the big launch for Jobs AI, it's going to be $497 for 90 days. If you want to upgrade when you're done with your 50 credits, or if you want to do it early, we're going to keep it open for $47. You pay it once. Doesn't matter how much you use it, how much compute you use, how much the technology costs us. You pay once and you use it as much as you want, unlimited usage, and you never have to pay for it again, to kind of thank you and to help you get through this. But for many of you, the 50 credits might be plenty to get you going, and maybe you'll consider this tool later on. But I really want you to use the tool and have some fun with it. So in the compete phase, let's talk about how we can use those tools. So I'm going to share my screen with you and let's start to have some fun with this. Okay. So in step 3, you see that we've got this resume writer. So when we're competing for the role, we're in a unique phase. Remember, we've got 3 big steps we take. Finding, we found tools and tricks and search engines and what have you to help us find those roles. Assess is critical. You've now decided you are going to raise your hand and say, I want to go for that particular role, because it's not about quantity, folks. This is about you managing your energy and your focus and your gifts to say you actually want to compete for this particular role. So now it's time to compete, and that starts with the application process. And every application process is looking for your work history, looking for your resume, your CV. Let's make sure it's really tuned up. So in Jobs AI, you will see you've got a couple options in the resume writer tool. Okay, so you can upload your resume as a doc or a PDF. You can just drop it in whenever you see the paperclip on the text fields in Jobs AI. You can upload a document, and so the best versions are docs, text files, and PDFs. Most of the free world's using docs and PDFs, so we're going to just focus on that. You can drag it in there, or if you just want to paste your resume or CV from another document, you can go ahead and paste it in here. 2 very important distinctions before we move forward. The second is no one else is looking at the information and the conversations that you would have with Jobs AI. It's not going into a training data set. It's not something that other users could possibly see or ask the AI for information about Frank Dolan's resume. It doesn't work that way. These are secure software packages that we've spent a lot of time and money building for you. So you can have a conversation with Jobs AI, and it will keep those conversations just for you in here as a series of threads. So you can open up these old conversations. So for example, we put in our resume, maybe we have a conversation with Jobs AI about our resume for, let's say, jobs with endocrinology companies. Then we have one that we store for conversations for neurology companies or oncology companies, whatever you want. You can use this tool. You don't have to just use any one of these once. You can have multiple conversations with each one of these tools, separate conversations that don't necessarily have to overlap. You can create new ones, a new chat, anytime you want. Okay, so I filled in some information here where I pasted a job description of a VP of national sales role. So in this part of step 2, in this particular tool, step 1, upload the resume or paste it in. Step 2 is paste in the job description of the target role. Okay, and when you do that, it has a lot of room to take all of that stuff in. You can then click on Analyze. And what it's going to do, it's going to analyze these two things. Now, I did not upload a resume or paste it in there. But as you can see, this is creating a new thread under step 3. And now it's asking me for a resume, or a CV. So in the sake of that, I want you to try this with your stuff. So we've already identified some jobs that we're thinking about. I want you to grab that job description from the job posting that you saw on the web somewhere, or what have you. Think about your CV, and then I want you to go ahead and paste it in here and to start to have a conversation with that. So you can do that as we walk along here. If you're not comfortable with putting in there, you can talk to the AI about that role without uploading your CV or your resume. So if we did that, we could say, I have 25 years of biotech sales leadership experience, including launching 5 drugs and serving in operations and marketing. Okay, I will give you my resume later. Okay, so we're doing this together. And by the way, you don't have to spell perfectly. AI will go ahead and figure it out. Okay, so it'll start giving you some feedback on that particular role and the experiences that you're sharing with the tool, which is really, really helpful. So you can ask it follow-up questions like, give me some non-obvious tips on writing a resume for this job. And the AI will take a look at what's going on with that particular role in that description, and it's going to start to give you advice. What's the key takeaway here is that you've got an expert coach that has looked at countless job descriptions, is specialized in biotech and pharma, understands those things. We've trained this with interview guides. All of this training data has gone into this. So rather than just a blank chat GPT session where you're trying to harness the power of that AI to begin to understand your context, all of that context is built into how we trained this particular tool, and it will help you. So imagine you're getting access to this expert on the industry, these companies, and the nature of these roles and how this industry actually hires to help give you feedback in making modifications. Most people will say there is a best practice of modifying your resume at a reasonable level to match the skills and the qualifications and the desired outcomes that come with a particular job. I think that that's really good. When I've been a candidate in the past, that's something that I've done, whether I was going through for internal promotions or I was going from another company. I worked for 7 different biopharma companies over the course of my career. I think that's a best practice. Get it tailored, and that's why you send it. And if I'm going to bring you back to day 1 and something that we talked about in day 1, when it comes to traps and tools, remember, one of the traps that we talked about was using some of these bot services that will auto find and auto apply to jobs on your behalf. You put up your resume once, and it will make these modifications. It'll fill out the application for you. There's only so many biopharma companies that you would seriously consider. If that's not true, then you know the tactics that you want to take on. But my bet is that you're pretty picky. And if you're picky, You want to be selective about what you go after. And I'm sure that you want your fingerprints all over the application process. So how you're going to position your CV, your resume is something that you're going to take very, very seriously. To use this as an assist just makes a ton of sense. It's going to give you more feedback. It's going to ask you for, it's just going to help you in so many ways. I get so excited talking about this. What areas should I be concerned about not having as experiences for this job? Okay, another cool question. All right, once again, spell check. Ask it these questions. Have fun with it. In fact, we've got a handout for you that's in the event tab for this particular session. As you're watching the live stream, you're going to see there's a PDF below the description for the compete. It's a prep document. So go ahead and take this PDF, save it. It's going to give you clever ways of talking to these AIs and helping you improve your resume. Okay, so now that we've got our resume ready to go, we can build on that with the application process. You can ask it questions. In fact, you can upload your resume, you can upload the job description, and then when you're going through the application process on the company's website, and let's say it's asking you some screening questions, copy and paste those screening questions right into this particular conversation with the specific thread you're having about that job and that version of your resume, and it can give you feedback and some things to think about. AI is an assist. It's not a replacement. So I want you to use it responsibly. These things can make mistakes. You can get different answers to the same question. That's why follow-up and getting to use this and become competent with it, and not just do one shot and then you're done. Really use these things. That's why using up all of your credits and having access to many credits with these AIs is so important. But do that and have it help you optimize your thought, your process. Ask it to look at the interviewer's point of view, the company's point of view, the HR person's point of view, to help you tailor your outputs, your actions, and your strategies. Okay, so let's talk about the interview coach next. Okay, so let's create a new chat for the interview coach, and let's talk about the experiences in the job that you're competing for. Here is a great opportunity for you to just start an open conversation with the AI. So if you wanted to put your resume into this, you could. You can see, once again, we're looking down here for the paperclip. That means you can upload a document, like a document, Word doc, Google Doc, a PDF. You can put that sort of document file in here. It'll look at it and it'll review it. If you've got a PDF of the job description, you can put it in here too. You can paste that stuff in there. You can say, let's take it step by step, and then end up having a conversation about that role. So let me go back, and I'm just going to grab this information. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to interview coach. All right, so new chat. I am competing for a sales rep job at Pfizer in Boston. What would an HR interview be like? Give me sample questions for a first round HR interview. Okay. All right. So here's a great opportunity to use this to ask questions about this particular role. So imagine using the other tools in Jobs AI. So when we're assessing the people, the potential interviewers before we actually go ahead and compete in some way. You could take the results of those assess questions, for example, about the people that you're going to interview with. So let's play in the sales rep example. You find out who the manager is for that district or that region. You put in their LinkedIn profile, it has their skills, their experiences. Maybe you go out there and you find a job description for a district manager role at Pfizer that's available elsewhere in the country. Well, the district manager in the Boston area that you're going to interview with, she or he is going to be working that job description. That's their role, right? So grab that job description of that district manager from Pfizer in Sheboygan, paste it in there. Like, I'm interviewing with a district manager in Boston named Frank. Here's his job description. Here's his LinkedIn profile. What tips do you have on how I should communicate? What questions do you think are likely to be valued by Frank when I interview with him next Monday? And start to have a conversation about that. Give me some non-obvious questions. How should I answer a question about past performance? My sales numbers last year were bottom half. How do I spin this to make it positive and show that I've got a history of being successful, but last year's sales numbers weren't so good? Go back and forth and have a conversation with this. It's like having an expert available to you to go ahead and coach you through this. It's just so powerful. So I encourage you to do that. And once again, when you look through Jobs AI, you've got step 1, step 2, step 3. You've got multiple tools in each. And every time you're in a particular AI tool, like Interview Coach, you can have numerous conversations that you can go back and refer to. And we're going to be unlocking more reports and some new tools before we wrap up the 5-day challenge tomorrow. So get ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun and very exciting for sure. So when it comes to competing for these roles, you know the deal. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be effective. You need every edge that's available to you, and using tools like this is an edge. It is available to you, and I encourage you to consider using that to put your best foot forward. This is not about us as much as it is the market, who we're competing with in these particular roles. If they have an edge, if they have a relationship, if they have prior knowledge, if they've got more disease state experience, if they've done more NDAs than you in clinical and regulatory, whatever it may be, how do we give ourselves an edge? How do we best characterize our experiences, which, let's face it, our potential is infinite, but the experiences that we have in the past are finite. How do we best express those? And these are tools to help you go ahead and do that. My sense is that if you believe that you are qualified and capable to give your time and treasures in that particular role, that you're right. And because you're right, we need to make sure that you're communicating those things in the most effective way. These tools will help you analyze who you're talking to, how they want to be communicated with, understand the company, the pipeline, the nuance, the job description, as well as your positioning, and help you be put in the best position to best communicate, to best articulate, and to best prove and compel others to move forward with you. I want you to go and close that gap between either where you've been at the last job or in the current job, if it's not perfect, and the dream job. Like, how do we close that gap? And if we can make an investment in ourselves and our time, our tools, our tactics, to close that gap, then let's do it. It's available to us. Why would we not take advantage of things that are available to us, especially in this high stakes world where we want to go ahead and get it done? Okay, so we talked about, does this go further? Tomorrow, we're going to bring everything together. We're going to have the entire workbook available to you, which is being dropped tomorrow intentionally. I wanted you to play with Jobs AI. I wanted to have you think about the tools. I wanted you to think about the roles, the companies, the short list, play with the tracker. And what we're going to give you as a gift tomorrow is an entire workbook to help bring all of this stuff together. But if you've ever been at a really great team meeting and people put a box of Legos for a building or a fire truck or whatever it is on every table with groups of 5, 10 incredible professionals, the truth of the matter is that a lot of the people at the table are going to start playing with the Legos and start building before they actually hear the instructions for the exercise, read the instruction manual, for the Legos. So in case we've got any friends that are like that, you got to play with all the Legos, but now we're going to give you the instructions. Here's how to use this stuff. test it, learn, and now that you've got a method. So we've got all of that anxious, fun energy out of the way, playing with these tools, playing with the process, thinking about ourselves. And now it's time to go get results and to really challenge ourselves. So hopefully you've had some fun doing that. You'll see that when we bring everything together tomorrow. Does it go beyond that? So it can go beyond that. So I do have a group that I meet with on a regular basis. If you want to have a one-off consultation with me, again, I'm here to be helpful. I'm here to help provide some of the resources that we have at Arsenal, whether it's Medicine to Market, Biodata Studio, et cetera, to help you with things. We've got Jobs AI to help more people bring this community together. You can do that if you've got my LinkedIn profile, which I think many of you do. Based on all the requests, feel free to connect with me. I'm willing to do that. You can always book a meeting with me. It does need to be booked. It is formal. I wish I had all the time in the world to talk to everybody for unbelievable lengths of time. But if you want to do that, I am available to go ahead and help you, and we will get results on the other side of that. But if you want a community part, we do have something that if you want to consider that, that's an investment in yourself, but it does give you a sense of community, more tools. We use Jobs AI with that. You can go ahead and reach out to us on the Eventi app and say, hey, I want to learn more about coming into a community if that's something that's possible. So that's something that we would do over the course of a month or 90 days, just to give you kind of a fast start, help you with accountability, help you with resources, but also help you from being an advocate for the process that you're going through. Okay, so we were competing today for those roles. Very, very, very important. Okay. So I want you to know that what you've just seen, what it looks like to compete with intelligence, confidence, and precision, that's critical. If you want to be successful and shorten the gap between wherever you were or are and where you want to be when it comes to the biopharma job challenge is concerned, you want to compete with intelligence, confidence, and precision. And there's all those tools available to help you go ahead and do that. So if you ever felt like things were a little bit off in that regard, you've got tools and you've got community surrounding you to help you go ahead and do that. You're no longer reacting to job listings. You're not hoping to get noticed. You're stepping into the process with strategy. And if you've ever wondered, how do I beat someone with more experience? This is how. You prepare better. You know your audience. You align yourself with what matters to them, and you do it faster than anybody else. That's what Jobs AI helps you do. And if you haven't upgraded yet, I want you to have this level of insight on demand, and now is the time. So if you do want to end up upgrading, you can. If the 50 credits gets you through this, fantastic. That's the idea. That's on me. That's on Arsenal and our team. But lifetime access will be available for a short period of time for $47, but only through the next several business days. So tomorrow is day 5. It's our final sprint into where we bring it all together. We'll build your 90-day job search launch plan. No fluff, no chaos, just a clean roadmap so you can execute starting now. Until then, just keep showing up like the top 1% because that's who you are. We'll see you tomorrow.